Okay, I have my thinking hats on today. How many of your relationships would survive you not being helpful? Not how many people like you, how many people need you, but how many people would still be there if you stop being the one who fixes, follows up, delivers, remembers? Stay with me. I've talked a lot on this channel about what happens when your identity lives inside of your career. If you haven't seen those, I'll link some below. But today I want to talk about something different. That there's a difference between being useful and being valued. Being useful isn't bad. It's freaking great. The problem is when you go looking for love, safety, identity in a place that only sells utility, usefulness. Because those are different currencies. And if you've been depositing into the usefulness account and checking the value balance, you're always going to feel broke. What happens when your identity lives inside of your career? When you're useful, people need what you do. And when you're valued, people care who you are. Useful is, she's great in a crisis. We need her on this project. I don't know what we'd do without her. Valued is more like, what does she think about this? I trust her judgment. Her perspective really matters here. Both of those things are real and both of them are important. Both of them feel good to hear. But they're paying you in completely different things. Maybe this is where it gets interesting. At work, being useful looks like you're the one that people call when something breaks. You deliver, you're reliable, you make yourself indispensable. And in return, you get the meeting invites, you get the good reviews, the raises, the system rewards you. And that's great. That's not fake, you earned it. But here's what useful at work actually gives you in return. Compensation and access. That's the currency. Money, title, seat at the table. And those are the usefulness rewards. And they're legitimate and you're right to want them. The problem is when you expect useful to also give you safety, to give you belonging, to give you identity. Because I don't know that it can. Useful is a transaction. So what does it actually mean for you right now, today? It means keep being work. It pays well. Keep doing it. But stop asking your job to tell you who you are. Stop expecting your performance review to make you feel safe, because that's not what it's for. You're asking a vending machine for love. I say that as someone who spent a lot of time asking vending machines for love. It surprised me when it gave me a Snickers bar. But here's where it gets more complicated, because at work, you can see the transaction. The exchange is clear. Hopefully, if you're more enlightened than I am, you see the transaction is clear. In your personal relationships, the same dynamic may also be running, and maybe it's harder to spot. Think about your friendships. Real friendships, not your work ones. For those of you who are like, but my best friend and I work together. Okay, great. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, how many of your friendship circles run on you being the organizer? You're the one that checks in with everybody. You're the one that remembers the birthdays. You're the one that plans the trips. You're the one that follows up after some hard conversations. Now, imagine that you stop doing all of that. You just sort of stop. Would those people come find you? Yeah, they probably would. Those are the people who value you. So there might be some who stop calling you or wouldn't check in on you, and maybe that lets you know that it's a utility relationship. It was running on usefulness and you were the engine, and when the engine stops, that's just what it is. That's just how that particular relationship was wired. So here's the thing that I want to be clear about. The usefulness relationships aren't worthless and they're not fake. You get real things from them: community, shared experience, practical supports, financial supports, and they're all legitimate. The pain comes from when you expect them to be more than they are. When you're pouring yourself into the one that's being helpful because somewhere underneath you're hoping that if you're useful long enough, you'll become valued, or you start thinking that it actually means value. And that's the misplaced energy. You're trying to earn belonging through productivity, and it doesn't always convert super neatly. Usefulness doesn't compound into value no matter how much of it you deposit. It's a different currency entirely. And of course, you can have relationships that do both at work and in real life. The question here isn't about the mutual exclusivity of them. It's don't look for one while paying into the other, right? Don't expect one to do the work of the other. So somewhere in here, there's something we keep doing. And here's what I think is actually going on. Most of us learned early, probably even before we had any kind of language for it, that being helpful is exactly how you earn your place. If you're a good kid, you're useful, right? You're a good student, useful. You're a good employee, the good friend, good partner, usefulness. And if at some point that goes underground and becomes an operating system, you don't even think about it anymore. You just automatically orient yourself to being needed, because being needed has always been the closest thing to being wanted. But needed and wanted are not the same thing. Needed means you solve a problem that I have. Wanted means I choose you even when you're not solving anything. Needed, wanted, not the same thing. So if you spent your whole life wanting to make yourself needed at work, maybe in your friendships, maybe in some of your circles, maybe even at your family, and you've gotten very, very good at something that was never going to give you the thing that you actually want. It's like training for a marathon to win the swimming race. The effort is real, the skill is real, we're doing the wrong thing. I have an identity crisis video where I talked about 40% of you doesn't fit in an org chart. That 40%, the weird part, the private part, the part that thinks about the things at midnight, that's a value part. That's the part where wanting lives. That's the part where most of us starve first, because that's not useful. That 40% is that part that people value. So here's what happens inside of you when you have usefulness but not value. You feel productive but empty, busy but lonely, reliable but invisible, and you just can't figure out why, because every external measure shows you that what you're doing is great. The reviews are good, the friends call when they need something, the calendar's full, but nobody's asking you what you think about the world. Nobody's curious about the stupid book that you just read, the midnight thoughts. You know, the thing when nobody calls you for no reason at all, it's starvation. You're full of utility, usefulness, but you're still starving for value. So what do you do about it? Because the answer isn't to stop being useful. Both things cannot be mutually exclusive. First, keep being useful, for real. I mean that. Your ability to show up, deliver, be reliable, that's genuine skills. And it pays real dividends both in your professional life and your personal life. Don't let anybody, including me, turn that into anything to feel guilty about. It's super wonderful. But stop expecting it to pay you back in that value void. When you walk into work, know that you're getting compensation, a challenge, maybe some really good colleagues, and that's the deal. It's a great deal. Just stop asking it to also be your identity. Look at where you're spending your energy in your personal life. Are you investing your best hours into relationships that run on usefulness or the ones that run on value? Most of us overinvest in the usefulness relationship. We put all of our effort into being the organizer, the fixer, the reliable one, because we know how to do that. We're good at it. We underinvest in the relationships where people will probably actually value us, the ones that require us to be known, not just needed, because that's vulnerable and maybe we're not great at that or used to it. It's weird. So what we need to do is flip that. Put the emotional energy where the value is. Call the person who knows your name, not just the one who needs your help. And third, this is a hard one, start valuing yourself. Not your output, not your utility, not your usefulness, but the real person underneath it. The one with the midnight thoughts, the one who has the interests, the parts that don't fit into the resume. Because if you don't value that person, you're going to keep outsourcing the job to people who were never actually hired to do it. You'll keep being the most useful person in the room and wondering why it doesn't feel like enough. It's not enough because enough was never going to come from there. Remember the question, how many relationships would survive you not being helpful? That number isn't a verdict on how loved you are. It's just a map of where your energy is going. And if that number is small, okay, cool. Now, that's fine too. It's clarity. Now you know where value lives. It could be one person. It could be 3 people, whatever it is. That's where you're going to be fed. That's where you're feeding and you're going to be fed. And that's perfectly wonderful. Usefulness is a skill. Valued is a relationship. If you've mastered the skill, now you have to build the relationships and start with the one you have with yourself. Stop shopping for value in the usefulness aisle. It's not there. It's in you. I'll see you in the next one.